This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. At 2 a.m., I got a call from Hailey asking me to deliver some fried noodles to her new boyfriend. After I agreed, laughter erupted from the other end. "Rocky, you're such a simp." She had no idea I was actually hired by her mother to be her companion. Today was my last day on the job. Hailey specifically requested the deluxe fried noodles from Avenue 231, which was about 45 kilometers from my house. I knew they didn't really want to eat. 7 days a week, they'd stay up for 6 nights, calling me for this and that, and I'd have to deliver it to her immediately. The most outrageous time, she said she couldn't breathe and needed 2 oxygen tanks. I didn't know anything about that, so I drove all over the city in the middle of the night looking for what she asked for. Of course, I found nothing. When I arrived at her house, thinking I'd take her to the hospital, I found out she was just playing truth or dare, betting whether I would fall for it. She never cared if I had class the next day or if I'd be late and get punished by the teacher. She just wanted to prove how desirable she was, that there was a guy who loved her unconditionally, someone she could call on a whim. I silently repeated to myself 3 times that money is hard to earn and unpleasant work even harder to do. Then, I ordered the nearest takeout, tore off the order number, and fished 2 leftover prawns from the fridge before heading lazily to the H group. It was pouring rain outside. I stood at the door, closing my umbrella, deliberately letting myself get drenched to look even more pathetic. Only then would Hailey be pleased. She needed difficult circumstances to prove how much others would endure for her. It was Hailey's mother who opened the door, her face drawn and weary as she sighed upon seeing me. "Rocky, you really have it tough." I rubbed my cold, red face and smiled sincerely. "It's no problem, Auntie. Just remember to settle the final payment." She was my cash cow, so I had to treat her well. Hailey's mom nodded and pulled me aside, speaking in a low voice. "There's $5 million on this card. Go home and rest after this. I'll tell Hailey you've gone abroad." I just wanted her to open up, but I didn't expect. The rest of her words trailed off because Hailey and her current boyfriend, Tony, had already come down the stairs looking at me with mocking expressions. "Man, you're so pathetic. Oh, almost forgot. You're a simp, a drowned rat, but certainly not a man. Where's your self-respect?" After saying this, the two of them burst into laughter. Tony glanced at me and continued, "It's from West Street, right? My Hailey loves me so much. She insists on the best and most expensive seafood fried noodles." I nodded and handed over the noodles. Hailey smiled and went upstairs, joking with the people in the room. "I told you, as long as I ask, even if it's raining knives, he'd still come." There seemed to be a lot of people in the room, and I heard a clear voice ask her, "Hailey, isn't this a bit too much? What's there to be afraid of? Rocky should be grateful just for the chance to see me, right? Simp dogs are meant to be ordered around, aren't they?" I sneered, nodded to Hailey's mother, and left. Actually, Hailey wasn't always like this. When she was young, she was abused by her nanny, force-fed fatty meat, locked in a room, and verbally abused. By the time her family noticed, Hailey had already become an autistic little chubby girl. At 15 or 16, she weighed nearly 200 pounds, which greatly affected her health. In high society, things are brutal, and Hailey was often ridiculed, running off alone and forcing her family to search for her everywhere. One time, I found Hailey during a night run. She was standing by the river, inching closer to the water. The autumn river was cold and stinky. I pulled her out and took her home. From that point on, Hailey stuck to me like glue. When I played basketball, she watched from not far away. When I got into my current school, she followed the next year. I found her clinginess frustrating, but deep down, I pitied her. Who would choose to commit suicide like that unless they were truly desperate? I was just a teenager, full of empathy, so I allowed her to stay close. Back then, I genuinely treated her as a friend, hoping she would get better soon. But who knew she'd become more demanding, spreading rumors that I liked her, and claiming that my serious girlfriend was just a stand-in for the one I really couldn't have. I hadn't even held hands with her, and I was already dumped. That's when Hailey's mother appeared. She said I was important to Hailey, and that Hailey had cried for a long time after finding out I was dating someone. So she offered me $10 million, asking only that I grant Hailey's every wish and help her regain her confidence. $10 million. You can't just turn down money for the sake of pride, right? After that, I was at Hailey's beck and call, accompanying her through workouts and weight loss, constantly encouraging and complimenting her. I successfully changed Hailey's attitude towards me. She gained suitors and followers followers, gradually becoming arrogant, even saying I was the most loyal of her simps. To prove it, every time she got a new boyfriend, she would have me deliver condoms. Whenever I arrived, she'd show off to her boyfriend. I never remembered the names of her boyfriends, but I always put on a hurt face, mostly because I was tired. Hailey's mom always felt guilty and would send me bonuses of tens of thousands as compensation, easing my resentment toward working night shifts. It didn't bother me because I didn't like Hailey. The more attention she paid to other men, the better. I just wished those men had more staying power. None could capture the heart of Miss Hailey, but at least now I could finally escape her, starting a new life with the 58 million her mom had given me. Half asleep, I got a call saying Hailey was drunk and asking me to pick her up. Call Yuru Yan's driver or her boyfriend. Don't ever call me for Hailey's business again. After that, I turned off my phone. When I woke up, I had 99 plus unread messages on WeChat, 45 of them from Hailey. The rest were mostly condolences from others. Bro, you finally stopped simping for Hailey? Congrats. Ha ha ha. Yesterday when you turned off your phone, Hailey went crazy at the bar. I recorded everything. I'll show you next time. Rockey, are you even human? Hailey's a girl after all. Aren't you worried something might happen to her if you don't go pick her up? I paused for a moment, then replied, really? The bar's so dangerous? Then why does she keep going? If she wants thrills, why not go feed tigers at the zoo? Her boyfriend won't pick her up. Why call me? Am I Woo Song? Then, I blocked that person along with Hailey. Even if Hailey's mom asked me to extend my contract, I wouldn't agree anymore. This girl is too much. Now that I've got the money, I'm done serving her. I used that money to start a studio in the software park. Freshly graduated classmates gathered together, full of energy, and the software quickly entered the testing phase. It received great feedback from beta users on various platforms, ready for launch at any time. But just at this critical moment, Hailey committed suicide. Her friends pointed fingers at me online, condemning me as a heartless man who toyed with emotions, breaking up with Hailey abruptly and moving on seamlessly to another girl. The one who got dragged into this mess was our studio's operations employee. We had gone out for a few meals, and now they were spreading rumors that she was an unprincipled homewrecker. I had signed a confidentiality agreement with Hailey's mother back then, so I couldn't explain anything. I called her mother, asking if I could make our deal public, but she turned the conversation on me instead. Rockey, Hailey may have been a bit spoiled, but haven't I treated you well? How could you block her and leave her alone at the bar? Now Hailey's refusing to eat or drink, and she even cut her wrists while we weren't home. How can you be so heartless? Her words made my eyes roll. I once thought Hailey's mother was rational, but I realized now that this was a family trait, emotional manipulation. I didn't feel like discussing it further and responded directly. Mrs. Hailey, are you saying that the $1 million buys me for life? Your daughter went to the bar with her boyfriend. Instead of blaming him, you turn on me? Are you trying to prove that good people get taken advantage of? If I hadn't saved her that time, would I not have been spared all this drama? I'm the victim here. Ask yourself, if I were your son, would you want me to be tangled up with such a girl? The other end of the line went quiet for a moment, realizing she had no solid argument. Then her tone softened. I know you've had a hard time these years. How about this? I'll add another 500,000 if you come back and spend some time with Hailey. Just take pity on me, please. I only have this one daughter, and seeing her lying there, barely breathing, it breaks my heart. I didn't respond, instead mimicking her exaggerated tone. To fulfill her wishes all these years, I've been sleeping only 2 or 3 hours a day, always getting up to do whatever she wanted. You wouldn't want to see me die suddenly and have the news affect H Corporation's stock, right? Do you even know what this software represents? It's the dream of our entire studio. 12 passionate young people. Can 5 million buy that? Now, thanks to your daughter, it's been ruined. We're all heartbroken. How about you first address the damage Hailey has done by slandering our studio online? When Hailey woke up, I was peeling an orange at her bedside. She blinked for a moment, her eyes lighting up like a fragile porcelain doll. But then she opened her mouth, and I instantly felt like slapping her. Rockey, who gave you the guts to block me? If you don't pick up the phone next time, you'll be looking at my corpse. As if I care. I was only there as part of the deal with her mother, seeing her one last time, and voiding the confidentiality agreement. If her mother hadn't insisted, I'd be gentle to avoid pushing Hailey over the edge. I would have cut straight straight to the point. I didn't even look at her outstretched hand, placing the peeled orange into my own mouth instead. The tangy sweetness exploded in my mouth. I grabbed another orange and handed it to her. Who do you think you're threatening with suicide? The only people it affects are those who love you. That doesn't include me. I hope you pull yourself together and start thinking about others. If you want to eat, peel it yourself. After the contract ended, I actually thought about this a lot. In the beginning, both her mother and I only wanted to help Hailey overcome her autism. But how did things turn so extreme? Maybe this method was wrong from the start. Endless tolerance only made her vain and selfish, a brief sense of fulfillment that not only failed to save her, but turned her into an unbearable, spoiled brat. I looked up, and the orange she threw hit the bridge of my nose. It was soft, so it didn't hurt, but Hailey was already losing it. She pounded on the bed furiously, glaring at me. Peel it myself? Is this how you comfort people, Rockey? I know you didn't like me when I was fat. Now that I've become pretty, you come running after me, so you better remember your place. You're just my lapdog, always on call, revolving around me 24/7. Hailey isn't even that pretty now, but she's fair-skinned and delicate, with a bit of money, so she attracts a few guys who like to take advantage. Her old insecurities inflated into arrogance, and she consciously blocked out the memories of who she once was, a chubby but kind-hearted Hailey. I remember her sneaking snacks and energy drinks into my desk, then running off, shy and awkward. She even wrote me a love letter once. I saw it and seriously considered her feelings, but then I caught her acting like a little thug, slapping my desk mate. Why? Because my desk mate was thirsty and borrowed my water, without drinking directly from the bottle. Hailey thought she was into me and had bribed a bunch of girls to bully her. I don't know who turned Hailey into this, but now she's too obsessive, too frightening. Just like now, with her delicate face twisted in rage. She yelled at me like she'd finally found the enemy she'd been searching for. She ranted endlessly, accusing me of being too short, too plain, and not sincere enough. But what did I do wrong? Even if I was naive before and thought about saving this woman, now I am tired and awake. In fact, most of the time, it is already very difficult for people to manage themselves well. All my sympathy for Hailey has been exhausted by her. I slowly peeled the orange she threw over and put it in my mouth. Then I grabbed the whole bag of oranges. Since you don't eat it, then I'll take it away. Hailey, I just promised your mother to come and see you. I didn't promise to marry you. What I do has nothing to do with you at all. After going to the hospital, I issued a statement clarifying that I only received her mother's fee and was a playmate on call. And she has always called me a simp with her friends, and there has never been any interaction. In other words, I just decisively resigned after the end of the labor period. The comments on the internet are naturally mixed. Some people say that I took the money but didn't take care of after-sale service. Some people say that a good former boss should be as quiet as an ex. Others are curious about my salary, but I didn't care about any of these. After issuing the statement, I put all my energy into the follow-up development of the software. I even changed a phone card directly to avoid those mutual friends. As a result, Hailey couldn't contact me and directly brought people to pry open the lock of our office. When our people went to work the next day, all the computers were smashed by her, and even the network cable was cut. Hailey sat in the middle surrounded by people, looking at me with her legs crossed. You left me just to do these things, right? Now, you have nothing left. Rockey, since you were hired by my mother to play with me, then continue to play with me. I don't care why you came to me, but back then, from the moment you saved me, it was destined that you belonged to me. Damn it, what a psycho. I couldn't bear it anymore and retorted mercilessly. So are you telling me that I should have let you die in that stinky river at the beginning? Hailey was stunned. Suddenly, she trembled all over and began to cry in a trembling way. But just as I began to reflect on whether I had spoken too harshly, she began to roar hysterically again. Rockey, you bastard, are you still human? I am so good to you, but you want me to die? I won't let you have an easy time. I won't let you have an easy time. Hit, break his leg. Even if I have to tie him up, I will tie him by my side. The people who were originally surrounding her immediately rushed towards me, but I also have 12 employees. On their side, those who are addicted to wine and women are subdued by us first instead. When Hailey saw this, she rushed forward while I was unprepared, but was stopped by the female employee beside me. A crisp slap sounded. The girl's face was swollen almost instantly. Serena, it's really you. You shameless bitch. I invited you to eat and gave you clothes clothes, but you snatched my man, and you led others to cyberbully me? Believe it or not, I'll find someone to gang rape you." As soon as these words came out, everyone widened their eyes. No one could believe that such words could come out of a woman's mouth. I immediately stepped forward and pulled Serena behind me, looking at Hailey warily. But she had red eyes and looked very aggrieved. "You protect her? Don't you know she is a scheming woman? Serena's family sells pigs. She eats and uses what I give her. But in the end, she sleeps with my man. Why can't I teach her a lesson? First of all, I am not her man. Secondly, Serena and I are innocent. It's just a pure superior subordinate relationship. Naturally, I can't allow her to talk nonsense like this." Just as I was about to speak to stop her, Serena came out from behind me again. "Hailey, when will you change your self-righteousness? I told you many times that I don't need those clothes and bags. Every time you give them in front of a large group of people to prove that you are beautiful and kind-hearted. I'm too embarrassed to refuse, so I have to accept them. Have you seen me wear them later? Every time I ask someone to donate them to a hope organization and then transfer the money to your card. Haven't you noticed the balance on your card for such a long time? Or is it that as long as there is more than enough, you haven't cared? Yes, my family not only sells pigs but also manages food processing. I am not short of money at all. For such a long time, you have been slandering me as smelling like pigs at school. I have endured you. Do you know why? Because of your mother. Every time your mother will come to apologize to me and beg me not to care about you. Hailey, you are 22 years old, not 2 years old. Can you stop living only in your own world? Now, apologize immediately. Restore all the places in the studio to their original state. Otherwise, the lawyer's letter about your slander and damage to other people's property and facilities will be sent to your H group. You can try and see whether your family's consultant is powerful or our family's legal team can sue you until you go bankrupt." Hailey's face was livid and murmured that it was impossible. However, she soon seemed to remember something and left with everyone. After a moment of silence, no one knew who spoke first. "Serena, if you become rich, don't forget us." No one expected that there is actually a rich second generation hidden in our small studio. Serena was a little embarrassed and invited us to have a high-end buffet seafood. But we met Tony in the restaurant. He was hugging a new female companion and walked towards us boldly. "Oh, isn't this the ultimate simp Rockey? And Serena, how did you two get together?" I said why you always speak for Rockey. "So it turns out that you have taken a fancy to this guy. As for you two, will you be able to pay the bill later? Why don't you shout 'good brother' and I'll pay for you?" As he said this, he was about to reach out and touch Serena's face, but I directly grabbed his wrist. Before, relying on Hailey, he bossed me around from time to time. I endured it all, but now, brother has been released after serving his sentence. "Tony, are you a chicken or a dog? Following Hailey to ascend to heaven. Have you forgotten what you originally were?" Perhaps because she was afraid of being ridiculed by people in the circle when she was a child. The boyfriends Hailey finds are basically from ordinary families. Tony is even more so. He originally received poverty grants at school. The classmates in the class often took turns inviting him to eat. Later, when he got close to Hailey, he began to live a luxurious life. Instead, he began to look down on other classmates. For such an ungrateful person, there is no need to be polite. Seeing that I really planned to beat him up, Serena suddenly came over and whispered something in my ear. Suddenly smelling the fragrance on her body, it was faint and very pleasant. It didn't seem like perfume. When I came to my senses, I saw Serena smiling playfully and then turned to look at Tony. "Okay, there are still 10 of us who want to get food. It's 18,000 in total. Can you pay for me now?" "No way, no way. You can't afford it, right? Or if you call me grandma, this matter will be over." Hailey transferred about 10,000 yuan to him every month. Tony knew that she changed boyfriends quickly. He was afraid that asking for too much would be disliked. When he heard Serena quote such a high number, his face instantly turned green. The female companion beside him looked at her, then at Serena, and couldn't help laughing. "Senior, you don't have money but still learn to pick up girls? What a bad luck. I thought you made a lot by following Hailey." After she finished speaking, probably afraid that Tony would ask her to pay the bill, she turned and left. Tony immediately chased after her, yelling that she had eaten and they had agreed to go to the private cinema. Unfortunately, we didn't mean to let her go. Serena smiled, like a beautiful but deadly man-eating flower. "You haven't called grandma yet. Or is it that Tony young master will pay for all our consumption tonight?" Tony's face was flushed red. Reluctantly, he called out, "Grandma," but Serena didn't mean to let him go easily. "I can't hear you. Since you want to call, you have to call while kneeling." Grandma's good grandson. Kowtow honestly and Grandma will give you lucky money. As soon as the words fell, I kicked Tony on the kneecap. With a plop, he slipped and fell to the ground and shouted Grandma in desperation. Our employees had already come back with their plates and were watching the show around. Seeing this scene, they all laughed and took out their phones to record. Tony was so angry that he ran away in a panic. Serena pursed her lips and suddenly sighed. What a pity. He hasn't kowtowed yet. I just happen to have 2 coins in my pocket. I'll give them to him, but everyone should eat quickly. Tony has run away. It is estimated that Hailey will come soon. As she said this, she looked at me with a hint of sympathy in her eyes. Although I don't know why you provoked her, but Hailey is really different to you. Serena is right. There is a saying circulating in the school, a flowing stream of boyfriends and an unwavering simp named Rockey. Hailey changes men very quickly. The shortest relationship lasts only 1 night, and the longest is no more than a month and a half. For someone like Tony who has been with her for more than 40 days, he is already considered very favored. And the reason he is favored is that he is very good at cooperating with Hailey and mocking and suppressing me with her, taking pleasure in others' pain. These two are really products of the same garbage dump. Sure enough, as soon as we checked out and went out, we saw Hailey's sports car at the door. Tony was sitting in the passenger seat. When Serena saw him, she politely waved and greeted. Grandson, you're here again? Did you forget to kowtow to Grandma just now and now come to make it up? I looked at Serena in surprise. I didn't expect that she usually doesn't talk much, but as soon as she opens her mouth, she goes all out to mess with people. Sure enough, Tony's face flushed red and he angrily complained. Hailey, Serena is really crazy. I just told her not to get too close to that simp. She didn't listen and even threatened me, saying she would spread rumors me cheating with other girls. We are usually so good to her, but she is really ungrateful. Hailey probably hasn't told him Serena's identity yet. She got out of the car and walked straight up to me without even giving Tony a glance. Rockey, as long as you come with me, I can let it go. If you don't like it, I won't belittle you anymore in the future, and I won't find a new boyfriend either. I can even marry you and give you $500,000 every month. As long as you stay by my side obediently, I can give you everything. I couldn't help but sneer, amused by her serious tone. Why does she think I would be willing to be her male pet and still have to be grateful for it? Up to now, she still hasn't learned to respect others. I took a deep breath and was just about to say something when I saw Serena suddenly lean over and hold my arm. Brother, she only gives you $500,000. So stingy. Although I'm just a pig seller and don't have much money, I'm willing to give my brother $1 million. Woo woo woo. She's still glaring at me. So fierce. Unlike me, I only know how to feel sorry for my brother. Serena is doing it on purpose. She pinched her throat and spoke sarcastically, with a natural sense of mockery on her face. But Serena is originally a campus beauty level figure. She looks like a combination of Crystal Liu and Dilraba. Even without any idle burden, she is astonishingly beautiful. From my perspective, I can clearly see Tony's expression change from stunned to amazed and finally to angry. It feels like in one more second, he will start crawling in the dark. I curved my lips and cooperatively pulled her into my arms. It takes $10 million to coax her, but to coax you, I'm willing to pay instead. Hailey rushed up and wanted to separate us, but Serena is also a clever girl. She took the opportunity to shrink into my arms, and her tone became even more coquettish. Oh, what are you doing? Want to hit someone? I'm so scared. Why is the young lady so unreasonable? You have no blood relationship, no love relationship with brother. Are you not allowed to have a girlfriend? The originally delicate young lady Hailey was mocked by Serena until her eyes were red, but she still stubbornly stood there, staring at me tightly. Rockey, do you really like her? If you like her, why did you provoke me in the first place? You're right. I might as well have died in the river. You were the one who wanted to be a good person. You were the one who saved me. You should be responsible for me. Why did you give me hope and then push me back into hell again? Hailey is simply impossible to communicate with. She only recognizes one principle. That is, since I took care of her back then, I should take care of her to the end. Even after the police arrived, they were speechless by her theory and directly took her away. It is said that that night, Hailey didn't notify her mother until early in the morning. After leaving me, Hailey's mother seemed to have aged several decades in just a few days. Her energy was completely drained. This time, facing Serena's strength. Hailey's mother wiped away tears and promised to send Hailey abroad for the best psychological treatment. She will not let her come back to pester us in the future. For the losses of our studio, the H Group gave $5 million as hush money and is willing to cooperate with us. They will be the first to purchase and access our software, which can be regarded as paving the way for us. As for Tony, no one pays attention to him. After losing Hailey, this money bag, he returned to a life of living beyond his means. Moreover, he had offended all the classmates who helped him before. Now he can't even afford a meal. Because everyone has seen his extravagant appearance, his subsidy was also taken back. Soon he dropped out of school in disgrace. It is said that after returning home, he became a bouncer. When picking up girls, he met a tough character and his third leg was broken. My relationship with Serena also seems to have taken a step closer because of this farce. She will naturally hold my hand when crossing the road and then casually hook her arm. When I look at her with a puzzled gaze, she will smile playfully again. What's wrong? We've hugged before. Can't we hold hands? You're a big man. Don't be so stingy. When having lunch at the studio, she will also come and call me. At this time, the colleagues around will always smile ambiguously and consciously make way. Until that day, when my family said they wanted to arrange a blind date for me, Serena finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She accused me with red eyes. Scumbag, we've hugged and kissed, but you don't take responsibility for me. I was amused by what she said and almost instinctively replied, "Don't talk nonsense. When did we kiss?" In the next second, a soft and fragrant thing brushed across my lips. Serena quickly backed away and pretended to wipe away tears again. "Look, you still don't admit it. Scumbag, I understand. As a man, one should be more proactive. So this time, it's my turn to approach, hold her head, and give her our second kiss." Later, she rolled her eyes and blamed me for being slow to understand. Originally, she wanted to wait for me to confess to her, but if she didn't make it clear soon, she was afraid that I would really go on a blind date and get married. I also smiled, pulled her into my arms, and patted her back to comfort her. Yes, my girlfriend is very brave, so I reward her with a handsome and promising boyfriend. At this time, Serena will smile and call me narcissistic, and then rub her red face into my arms and find a comfortable position to hold me. Until we met Serena's parents, who came to City A while we were taking a walk. Their gazes lingered on our intertwined hands for a while, and they snorted heavily. Really, a daughter is not as good as expected. She doesn't go home and stays in that small studio all day. Serena pouted and held my hand even tighter. "Dad, our studio is not small. It has already expanded to 30 people. 30 people are enough to make you happy? So unambitious." After saying that, Serena's father gave me a hard look. But for a recent college graduate, it's really not bad. When you have time, let Serena take you home for a meal and talk about investment issues. Serena's parents are very open-minded. Although they are unhappy that I took away their precious daughter, they sincerely help me and give me a lot of advice on business development. In the second year, the company's operation reached a higher level. In the third year, it already had its own independent office building. At my and Serena's wedding, Hailey came. She became very thin, with deep hollows in her cheeks. As soon as she appeared, she stared at me longingly. Her lips moved, but she just sighed and put down a very thick red envelope. "This is the money I saved from working part-time. Rocky, I now know how to respect people, but it seems too late." At this point, she turned and looked at Serena. Suddenly, there was a trace of sadness in her tone. "Serena, when did you start to notice Rocky? Is it because of me? If I wasn't so willful back then, you two wouldn't be together, right?" Serena was silent for a moment. Under her gaze, she still nodded. She patted Hailey on the shoulder, her voice very gentle. "Rocky told me that he was nice to you back then because you were sick. I don't want to stimulate you, but at that time, it was indeed because you called him to us again and again that I had the thought of getting to know him. At that time I was thinking, why wasn't he angry? With such a stable emotion, he must be secretly drinking traditional Chinese medicine, right?" Later, I gradually developed a good impression and wanted to know him better. Hailey broke down. She covered her face and sat on the ground crying bitterly, attracting the attention of everyone around. But she couldn't care anymore. She just sobbed and repeated over and over, sorry. My doctor said that it was I who pushed you away little by little. Rocky, if I could have been normal and not so paranoid back then, we would have had a chance, right? If I was willing to go see a doctor obediently back then, you would have accompanied me out." I interrupted her. Then, in front of her, I kissed Serena. "Today, I didn't kick you you out because my wife moisture you to stay. But for you, I can only say that I thank you for letting me meet Serena. I saved her. I don't owe her. Later, she humiliated me. The money given by Hailey's mother also offset it. Don't have any more intersections. I heard that on that day, Hailey didn't eat a single bite of the banquet. She just kept crying while looking at us. She said that she just wanted to prove that I love her. Why did she mess things up? My roommate, an employee sitting nearby, gave her a fatal blow. He said, "Sister, are you okay?" Rockey made it very clear. He never loved you. What are you proving? But none of us cared about her emotions. Serena and I looked at each other affectionately on the stage. In the questioning of the master of ceremonies, we seriously and passionately told each other, "Yes, I do." Later, I heard that Hailey committed suicide abroad. She silently boarded the plane back to foreign countries alone. Then, at the moment of landing, she took out a bottle of pesticide from her bag and drank it all in one gulp. Countless people at the airport saw her fall to the ground, foaming at the mouth, and screamed for an ambulance, but they couldn't save her. She even left a will early and left all the money in her card to me, and I just gave this money to Hailey's mother. In this whole story, the most pitiful one is this woman. Because of Hailey's negligence when she was a child, she spent most of her life and has been working hard to cure her daughter. In the end, she still lost her. Her hair turned completely gray when she got the news of Hailey's death. She stared out of the window with empty eyes. Rockey, in fact, you also blame Auntie, right? Auntie could have stopped her, but Auntie didn't dare. She finally could interact with others. I was afraid that if I did something wrong, she would become like that again. So I could only pretend not to see and let you be bullied by Hailey. This is Auntie's retribution. It's all retribution. She covered her face with her hands and cried bitterly, telling her hardships bit by bit. Hailey's father cheated on her when she was very young. He even wanted Hailey's mother to leave the house with nothing. For the sake of her daughter, Hailey's mother designed an accident. From then on, she brought up her daughter alone. But in order to support the family, she neglected Hailey and made Hailey become like that. Later, in order to make Hailey return to normal, she spoiled her to another extreme. One wrong step leads to another. Hailey's mother handed over the H group to us and then turned herself in. On my first day in office, Serena came to me with a bento. "Boss, do you need a female secretary?" The secretary does things when there are things to do. When there are no things to do. I covered her mouth and dragged her into the office. "Yes, put on your clothes and leave your resume. Forget about being a secretary. Be the boss's wife." The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.